That evening, a light rain drizzled, wetting the pathways on the outskirts of this bustling city. Puddles shimmered under the glow of the streetlights, dotting the area between the houses. The cold air that night felt piercing, and even the warm jacket I wore failed to keep me warm. It was 11 p.m. As usual, I was returning home from work. The night was eerily quiet, likely due to the late hour and the light drizzle. I imagined people preferred to stay indoors, cozy and warm. I hastened my steps, eager to reach my rented place. It had been an exhausting day. Many customers had visited the restaurant where I worked, and my feet felt like they hadn't stopped moving. All I could think of was reaching my place and resting. The thought of showering didn't even cross my mind. I lived with my friend, Nathan, a final-year college student and my schoolmate from high school. We both juggled work and studies, but last month, Nathan quit his job to focus on his final project. Upon reaching our place, I saw Nathan engrossed in watching television. "Hey, have you eaten?" "I brought fried rice," I said, but Nathan remained silent, his eyes fixed on the TV. I headed to the kitchen. Our rented space resembled a house with several rooms. It felt more like a shared home since it was a new building, and we were its first occupants. After grabbing a plate and spoon, I joined Nathan in the living room. I sat a bit away from the TV, so Nathan was behind me. I often ate while watching TV. Just as I was enjoying my meal, Nathan suddenly burst into loud laughter. His laughter echoed, almost deafening me. I wonder, the show isn't that funny. Is he chatting with his crush? I thought to myself. After finishing my meal, I headed to my room to retrieve my phone, which I'd left in my bag since afternoon. As I entered the room, damn, I saw Nathan hugging a pillow. The sight drained whatever energy I had left. Suddenly, my phone vibrated, signaling a message notification. "Bro, I can only return tomorrow. I ran out of tickets." I'd forgotten one crucial detail. I was alone in the house. Nathan had gone to his parents' house 3 days ago. I was paralyzed, unable to scream or move. Then, I heard a loud, high-pitched laughter that chilled my spine. I turned toward the sound, and there was Nathan facing away from me. Slowly turning his head with an unnaturally wide smile, he said, "Where's the food?" By the end of 2016, I got married and acquired a new house through a mortgage. Although the distance from our home to our workplace was quite far, about 16 kilometers, we held on to hope to build a family. Our housing complex was located in a rural area, characterized by rice fields and sand mines with hilly terrain. The access to the housing complex also passed through numerous graveyards, both public and private. One notable area was a bridge surrounded by bamboo and a village cemetery, all in one place. Even under the scorching sun, this area felt cold and cool due to the obstructed sunlight. That night was a Friday night. I intended to move into the house with some close friends. There were 5 of us, with one leading the prayer. After finishing our prayers around midnight, I went to bed while the others continued chatting. However, around 2 a.m., I was awakened. My friend, George, felt a weight on his chest in the adjacent room. He also saw the apparition of a woman in white clothing by the door, an experience I had also felt earlier that evening, causing him to stay awake out of fear. To cut the story short, after returning from work around late afternoon, I installed a water jet pump in the house. Every time I did this, I felt chills down my spine. Behind my house, I frequently saw the silhouette of a tall, dark figure reflected in the glass of the back house, where the kitchen meets another kitchen without a wall. In that block, I was the third occupant. The rest were new, but vacant houses. Every night, I felt shivers, and once I felt a sharp pain in my leg while walking. After ignoring it for a week, I consulted a relative who could perform massages. He told me someone was holding onto my leg, a small, old figure. I was terrified at that moment, but he left me with a message. If I go to the kitchen area without a wall, I should not go alone. A few months later, after returning from work, I saw the tall, dark figure standing upright right in front of our house's iron gate. Instantly, I was filled with fear. The figure was gazing towards our house. Yes, you can all imagine it. Waking up in the middle of the night, peering out the window, and seeing cars pass by. Or, if it's really late, when all you see is an empty, dark road. If you're lucky, there should be a streetlight illuminating the front of your house, lighting up the road for those late-night workers, or perhaps wandering souls. Unfortunately, I wasn't that fortunate. One night, I woke up, feeling like an overly energetic child, unable to fall back asleep. I stared out the window, not just looking, but observing the street. I use the word observing because, as a child, I don't think I truly looked. My gaze was fixed, without truly processing what I saw. Observing meant analyzing what was in sight. I loved the view from my bedroom window. My house was at the end of a curved street, and my window faced it. The passing cars never bothered me. However, this time, something disturbed me. As I observed the street, something peculiar caught my eye. Usually, a row of streetlights would cast a glow down the dark asphalt, warning drivers of the bend ahead. But tonight was different. At first, I couldn't make it out, but then I saw it. Below two streetlights, there stood a figure, as if he sought refuge from the darkness, bathed in a pale orange glow. He had his back to me, looking at the road, just as I was. What was peculiar was that there was a bus stop nearby where people usually waited or sought shelter from the rain. However, this man just stood there, illuminated by the light, doing nothing but staring. He wore a black fedora and a polished suit that shimmered in the light. What was even stranger was that he carried nothing with him, leaving me puzzled about his purpose. Curiosity piqued. I checked the time. It was 2:03 a.m. I felt a twinge of unease seeing a stranger on the street at this hour, doing nothing. I watched intently, waiting for any movement. Yet, he remained still. Almost half an hour passed before I grew tired and considered going back to bed. But then, suddenly, there was movement. A car approached. Odd, but as I mentioned earlier, people sometimes got lost or worked late around here. Then, something occurred that led you to hear this story now. The car stopped beside the man. Its headlights turned off, ensuring no one was disturbed. The car door opened for the mysterious man. Before stepping in, he turned and locked eyes with me. I was certain he knew I had been observing him. He stared directly at me. Though too distant for me to see his face clearly, I could tell he was looking right at me. In a childlike reflex, I ducked under my blanket, believing it could shield me from whatever sinister intent he might have. I heard the car door slam shut, its engine humming louder as it neared my house. My heart raced. Then a sound that froze me in place. Outside my house, the car door shut. The engine roared to life. They had clearly dropped the man off. It must have been because I had witnessed their activity. Desperate to know what was happening outside, I peeked from my blanket. To my relief, no one was there. The next day, I told my parents. Unlike a horror movie, they believed me. Probably just business, my dad said, munching on toast. I felt grateful to have my parents beside me. Yet, every night before bed, I'd check my window, hoping not to find that mysterious man waiting. But he was always there. Night after night, under that streetlight, he waited for a car. And every time before getting in, he'd turn and look at me. I've since moved away, but to this day, I still wonder about that man and what he was doing under that streetlight.